Hi everyone, it's Lesley. I am not at church today. I am at home, just like all of you. I also have to stay home for most of the time, but I still wanted to send a story for you to watch. So I'm going to record it here from this is my special chair next to all of my books, and I also have some helpers who want to say hello because they're at home too. Come here, guys. Clara and Noah want to say hi. Now they're going to sit over there and listen to this story that I'm going to read to all of you. So I don't have all of my godly play stuff right now, which is a little bit of a bummer, and I'm hoping to get it all soon. But what I do have is I have a bunch of storybooks at my house, so I thought it would be fun to read you a story. I also don't have our calendar, but we can use our imaginations. So let's think about the circle of the church year. Let's see, we were in purple, and I think we were on the third purple square, so I think this week we would be on the fourth purple square. And purple is the color of royalty, which is about King Jesus. So we must be in, do you remember what it's called? Lent. Yep. And we are looking forward to that white square with the cross on it. Do you remember what it's called? Yep, Easter. So we're going to read a story today that is about Jesus. So before I get started, we're going to do this a little like godly play. I want everyone to just take a breath. The Lord be with you. Did you say, and also with you? All right. So today we are going to read this book called The Storm That Stopped. And I thought this was a good story for today because life feels a little crazy right now, doesn't it? A lot of things are different. A lot of things are still the same. Like the love you have with your family and the love that God has for you and for the world, and that God is in control too. So here is the title page. It's called The Storm That Stopped by Alison Mitchell, illustrations by Catalina Echeverri. I might have to turn the book sideways while I read, but then I'll show you the pictures, I promise. One day, long ago, Jesus was teaching people by the sea. Soon, some more people arrived. Then others, then more and more, until there were people everywhere. The crowds were just too big. No one could see Jesus, and no one could hear Jesus. Give me some room. We can't hear back here. Be quiet. I can't see. So Jesus asked his friends, the disciples, to push their boat out onto the water. He sat in the boat, and the huge crowd spread out along the beach. Now they could all see and hear Jesus as he told them all about God. Look at these. Let's see. There we go. All the different stories he's telling them. When he finished teaching the people, Jesus said to his friends, "Let's go over to the other side of the sea." Jesus had finished teaching the crowd, and now he had something to teach his friends. But they didn't know it yet. So they all jumped in the boat with him and set sail across the sea. Jesus was so tired. He'd been teaching the people all day, so he lay down in the back of the boat and fell asleep. It was a quiet evening. The water gently lapped against the boat, and the sun slowly set in the sky. Jesus was sleeping. The disciples were quietly talking. Then all of a sudden, they were in the middle of the biggest, loudest, scariest, most ginormous storm you could imagine. What do we see over here? Oops. Someone's sleeping. The wind blew hard. The waves grew huge. The water poured into the boat. But Jesus was asleep. The wind blew harder. The waves grew huger. The water filled the boat. But Jesus was still asleep. His friends are saying, "Jesus! Wake up, wake up! We're drowning! Don't you care?" What a silly thing to say to Jesus. Of course he cared. He loved his friends so much that one day he was going to die for them. Jesus stood up in the boat. The wind was still blowing. These pages are pretty funny. Take a look at them. They have a windometer, wave-o-meter, syncometer, and panic-o-meter. The waves were bigger than ever. The water was pouring into the boat quicker than the disciples could tip it out again. The boat was sinking. But then Jesus did something amazing. He didn't help his friends pour the water out of the boat. He didn't help them try to row back to land. Jesus simply spoke. But he didn't speak to the disciples. He spoke to the storm, to the wind, and to the waves. Quiet. Be still. Just 3 little words, and the storm stopped. Right away, at that very moment, the sea was quiet, still, and calm. Then Jesus looked at his friends. "Why are you so afraid? Do you still not trust me?" But they were terrified, and they asked each other, "Who is this? Even the waves and the wind do what he says." This is what Jesus wanted to teach them. He wanted them to know who he really is. The disciples already knew a lot about God from his special book. They knew that God made everything. He made the world. He made the sun and the moon and the stars. And God made the sea and the wind as well. They knew that only God can tell the sea what to do, that only God can tell the wind when to blow or the waves when to crash. Only God can do these things. But the disciples had just seen Jesus do the same things God can do. So what is the answer to their question? Who is Jesus? Jesus is God. And then there's a little page at the end that talks about where this comes from in the Bible. This comes from Mark chapter 4, verse 35 to 41. Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him. So that's our story for today. I would love for you to take a few minutes and talk with your family or whoever's around. You could even talk about this with friends if you do a video call with them. I wonder what your favorite part of this story was. I wonder what part is most important to you today. I wonder if there's anything we can leave out and still have everything we need. I wonder what in this story feels like it's especially for you or even about you today. And I wonder what you wonder about. Ask your parents or even send me an email and let's have a talk about it. I would love that. I wish you the best, and if you want to continue to have a little godly play type session in your house right now, you could have some response time with some simple art supplies, and then you could even gather back together and have a little feast with your family. That might be a fun way to wrap up your time together and talk about what this story meant to you today. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye, everyone.